Okay. Hi, I'm Susan Kennedy. I'm a facilitator with the Keller Future Center, and I am here to talk about do's and don'ts when you're interviewing and taking notes when you're out in the field doing research. There's some things that you have to pay attention to. One of the things that you need to do before you go out into the field is make sure that you're well prepared. One of the things that I highly suggest is that you have a guide prepared before you set out and that you have all of the questions that you're going to ask. Not that you have to file the guide question by question, line by line. It's just something to help you keep on track and help make sure that the interview goes smoothly, that you get all the questions and the issues asked that you want to talk about, and that you aren't thrown off track should something happen. When you go out and you're approaching your interviewee, you want to start with small talk. Introduce yourself, talk about what the project is and what role you're playing and what we're doing and what you're doing for the research and why you're doing it. And let them know that they are a big part of the success in understanding whatever the topic is that you're discussing. If you're the interviewer, there's two typical roles in this process. One is the interviewer and one is the scribe. If you are the interviewer, it's really important that you have respect and you pay a lot of attention to what the person is saying. This is why we recommend you go out in pairs where one person can really focus on having that dialogue with the person they're interviewing and the other person can be documenting everything so that they feel like they are being paid attention to and they can be comfortable telling their stories. Because some topics that you are approaching in interviews sometimes are somewhat, comfortable or uncomfortable, you have to make sure that you don't push somebody to talk about something if they're not willing to go there. So if you broach a subject that they're just really not interested in talking about or explaining further, please just respect that and move on. Maybe you can approach it a different way later on, but just really don't push or pester somebody to answer a question just because it's on a guide. Make sure that you are allowing the person to, have the discussion that they want to have, but that they stay on topic. Sometimes it's really easy for people to find this rabbit hole to go down, and they go down in a totally different topic, and then the next thing you know, the time that you had scheduled for your interview is gone, and you haven't been able to accomplish that. So one of the big important things is to make sure that, if somebody does get off topic, that you find a very polite way to say, that's very interesting. Would you mind if I asked you about this? When you're conducting your interview, there's kind of a way that is appropriate to do it in the way that it's more like a conversation. What you're trying to do is have people tell you stories. So one of the most common things that people do wrong in interviewing is that they ask questions that are going to give you a yes or no answer. You want to ask open-ended questions, and you want to let the people, give them an opportunity to tell you stories or describe things. You want to know what about their experiences are. So the questions like, tell me about a time when you did this, and how did that make you feel, and why did you try to do that, and what went well or what went wrong. Questions like, I love questions like, what 3 words might best describe your style of this, or what three words describes this, or describe your ideal workplace. So these are going to elicit response that are more storytelling and more conversational and dialogue versus just yes or no questions. So the key to good interviewing is to plan ahead and to make sure that the questions are open-ended where you're going to get them to give you a lot of feedback. In your workshop books, there's a section that contains pages that are called active listening notes, and I'm sure you've been using them throughout the process. This is the key time when you need to use those notes. Those sheets will help you organize everything you hear during the interview, and it is going to be the tool that the entire team is going to bring back to the next session in order to analyze. So On the active listening notes, if you look at in your workbook, on the right-hand side, there's one area where you can take notes during the interview. This is where you have to capture what people are saying. It's great to capture direct quotes. It's great to capture observations, maybe how people are feeling when they're talking to you, capturing key ideas and themes. And bringing those back to the next session will allow you to share your stories and your experience in that interview with the rest of the workshop group. So in summary, we've covered 3 things. One is it's really important to plan what you're going to do and how you're going to do it before you go out there. So take the time to understand what you're going to ask and prepare your questions so that they're going to elicit a dialogue and be more storytelling and conversational. And then lastly is when you're taking notes, make sure you use the active listening sheet and bring that to the next session so that you can share your findings and insights with the rest of the group.